We've now seen all of the major elements in the simplest Git workflow, so in this section we're going to practice that same sequence by making another change to the index file. Throughout the rest of the development of this application, we'll generally err on the side of making more frequent commits. It can be hard to figure out exactly when to make a commit. I generally recommend working until you reach a natural stopping place and then make a commit at that time. But the truth is that most people aren't consistent about this. And so my biggest piece of advice is not to worry too much about it. By following this tutorial, you'll get a sense of one way to do things, and you'll be able to adapt as you go forward based on your own practices or on the practices of any teams you work with. Let's recall where we are. Let's just look at ls here. So we've got this index.html file. And now what I'd like to do is open it in Atom so we can start editing it. There it is, hello world. And let's take a look at it in a browser. So this will work on OS 10. You'll have to probably double click on it if you're on a different OS. So I just use open index.html. This uses Chrome to look at the file. And you can see right here, hello world. You might also note that this is local to my system, so the URL in the browser starts with file:// and then it has the full path, which is just /user/mpartl/repos/website/index.html. So actually 2 of these slashes are part of file:// and then the third slash is actually part of the file system. This is perfectly good as just a basic hello world page showing that we can get something to work. But the usual practice with a heading on a web page is to use what's known as the top level header tag, or H1. So let's promote this basic hello world into an H1 tag. The structure of most HTML tags looks like this. There's an opening angle bracket, then the name of the tag, which in this case is a top level header, or H1, and then a closing angle bracket like that. So this indicates the beginning of the tag. And then there's a closing tag, which is just the same, except with a slash here. By the way, this is not a backslash, this is a // or just slash for short. You can see because we used the .html file name extension that Atom knows it's HTML. And that's why we get nice syntax highlighting here with the tags. You may also recall that Atom shows a little circle indicating that the file is unsaved, so let's save it with Command S. And then we can switch over to the browser and refresh it. Command R there, and you can see that Hello World now looks a lot bigger and it's bolder too. The exact display here will depend on your browser, but in general, an H1 tag or top level heading tag will be rendered by a browser as big and bold. Let's go back to our terminal window. What's the status here? Here, Git says that index.html has been modified. We can also look at Git Diff to see the exact change. You can see here now we've got a minus. This line has been deleted in effect and replaced with this line. So the way diff works is to put the 2 lines right next to each other. In this case, there's only 1 line in the file, but in a bigger diff, generally speaking, changes will be grouped like this. At this point, we're ready to make a commit. You can look at status again. You can see that the file already exists in the repository. Remember our sequence here. So we started with untracked and unstaged files. We used git add. At this point, the file is already tracked, so we don't have to add it to the repository, but we do have to add the changes. We saw in the last section that there's a way to do that right in the commit. If it's already part of the repo, we can do git commit -a and then -m with the message. So we can say add an H1 tag. But in fact, there's a way to combine these two. You can do -a and then m right next to it. This is a common convention with Unix-style commands generally. You might recall things like ls-rtl. So it's very common to combine am like this. Now we get git commit -am and then the commit message. At this point, the change has been committed to our repository, so if we ever need to examine the list of changes that the repository has gone through, we can do that with git log. As you'll see in the exercises, git log is especially useful when running with the -p option.